Hi, everybody, and welcome to Why Are You an Entrepreneur? The Trials and Triumphs. I'm Maureen Edwards, the founder of 8 Simple Steps, and I know I have people who tune in every single week, so you know I say the same thing, that I bring you rock star entrepreneurs to have rock star conversations, because if you are on a business journey right now, you are a rock star. You're taking risks that people don't normally take, and I know you're working and working to make it successful. So tonight is no exception. I am so excited. I have Courtney Capece. She is the owner of Committed Change Health and Wellness. All right. And she has an amazing story that I think a lot of people are going to relate to, because phenomenal corporate career to entrepreneurship. So I'm very anxious to hear, Courtney. So welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and we met at kind of a live speaking event with the chamber, and
Yes.
I remember speaking with you, and I'm like, this woman is so dynamic and really going out there and taking some risks. So I definitely wanted to touch base with you and have you share your story. And so I asked the same question: why have you chosen entrepreneurship? It's so hard. Like, why would you even go there, right? So give us a little bit of a story as to what has brought you here.
Yeah, I have transitioned to entrepreneurship through personal change in my life. It's that simple. There are some people who want to run a business, they want to be the boss. For me, I had a phenomenal life change that brought me growth and information that I was just so excited to share with other people that I created a coaching business to do just that.
So do you mind sharing what that life change
Yes,
was?
absolutely.
Yeah.
So pre-pandemic, I'd say late 2020, early 2021, I was in a place in my life where, I was working my corporate position, had a wonderful corporate family, great job, but feeling a little overwhelmed with some of my family responsibilities with work, doing everything that I could, but not always feeling stimulated and engaged. And so it put me kind of in a space where I was no longer growing. And at that time, there were some challenges on the family front, like I said earlier, and I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't eating right. I wasn't working out. So I'd gotten myself into a bit of a physical state. And I was just not feeling good. And I thought to myself, how long do I want to live not feeling good? And one day I said, this is it. And I decided to just get up and take a walk in the middle of January, put on some shoes, put on some sweatpants, took a walk, and I started walking every day. And then I started reading, I started researching, I started learning about nutrition and mindful movement and things you could do to reclaim your purpose. And that brought me to health coaching. Someone mentioned to me, have you ever thought about health coaching? I think you would be a phenomenal health coach. And I said, what's a health coach? I've heard of life coaches, all kinds of coaches.
Yeah.
So I did the research and I found a school, the Institute for Integrative Nutrition, that really resonated with what I had experienced, where I currently was, and where I wanted to go. And once I completed that coursework, it was fantastic. And I'm very blessed that I had a very supportive corporate family that said, you know what? Go and do this. We're excited to see what happens. We're backing you 100% of the way. And that was a blessing as well, because not everyone gets that. So I transitioned while I was still in a corporate position, but I also grew while I was still there. And then I was able to make the leap, and I was supported in that leap as well.
So you started this before you actually said, yeah, which is smart, right? You kind of put it in place
Yeah.
instead of just, it was a calculated risk.
It was a calculated risk, and I did not make the risk alone. I did consult with my husband, and I said, this is what I want to do. This is where I see my life going. And I know that any change I make impacts you, and it impacts our son. And at one point, having known where I was and where I wanted to be, he said, it's time. We've got this. And so it was very nice to be able to have that ramp up time and then have the support and then actually launch, knowing that it was with the full support of my husband and we were ready to go mentally, financially. And it just makes a big difference because it takes a different level of stress out of the equation.
Absolutely. So, what have you found to be the biggest difference between leaving a corporate career with a lot of support to becoming an entrepreneur? It's kind of a solo gig for a while.
Well, and as a coach, it's very much a solo gig. I go out and I do different events where I have a vendor table, and I just talk and talk and talk to people. And a lot of people were not used to remote work when COVID came along, but I had been working remotely since 2008. I previously worked in an office setting, but it just hit me how much I really enjoyed talking to people. So here I was talking to people again. That was the biggest difference. You have deadlines, but the deadlines are different. The deadlines are self-imposed. So if there's something that you want to do, you have to set that deadline for getting it done. You don't have anyone, waiting for it at the other end. So sometimes motivation can be an issue. But I have found that with making the transition, motivation is not a problem. I think the biggest problem that I have now is wanting to do so many things and knowing that they need to be done, that it's a hard choice to get up in the morning and figure out what do I do next because I'm so excited to do it. But that also brings a certain amount of flexibility and freedom with it as well, and the responsibility of knowing that if this doesn't fly, it's on you.
Funny, I mean, you do have a lot to juggle, entrepreneurs do. And so, how do you prioritize what needs to get done?
Well, I'm very fortunate that a lot of my previous experience was operational. So when I finally left the corporate world, I was an associate director of business development operations. So I tend to operationalize things. Though I have my to-do list and I have my calendar. Um, I do a lot of research. I use tools. I don't try to go it alone. I could get up and wing it every day, but if it were not for the tools that I have in place to organize myself and keep myself on track, things could get a little bit out of hand. But it's really all about being organized. And like I said, looking for those tools that are going to make your life a little bit easier.
Could you recommend to people out there who could be listening who maybe don't have that organizational, level or that process
Yeah,
experience? Are there some tools that you could recommend that people could use to help them out?
yes, actually, get yourself a binder. I think people who have known me for way too long will chuckle when they hear me say, get yourself a binder. So there, I have a binder for everything, and the binder has tabs. In some cases, color coordinating things. Always having a to-do list, but highlight the things that are very important to get done first. The things that are essential or mission critical, highlight those. If this doesn't get done, nothing else can flow from it.
Right.
Depending on what your system is, Outlook, or whether you just use Google, use your calendar. Color code things on your calendar. Send yourself reminders. Put notes on your calendar. And then if you have to put anything else in place, try to keep your desk as clean as possible. Put the one thing that requires your most focus and attention that morning on your desk. So it's the first thing you see in the morning. There's no thought process behind what do I need to work on? That's what you need to work on.
So you tell me right now, what type of marketing are you doing for your business to get new clients? Because it's all about growing, it's all about generating revenue, it's about building, a presence out there. Can you recommend some of the marketing tools that you're using?
Yeah, well, I have to say I'm starting really basic because as an entrepreneur, when you start, even if you have financially planned for it, like I did some financial planning up front, you still need to be very cautious about your capital outlay, any kind of financial money that you're putting out there. So I have tried to put myself in positions where I'll get the most visibility. Workshops, vendor opportunities, sponsorship opportunities. I did run one ad in a magazine, trying to gauge whether that was worth it. But the one thing I have done is a lot of social media. Um,
Okay.
because I think that lends itself to what I give as a coach. As a coach, you're building people up, you're providing them with motivation every day. A great way to do that is Instagram and Facebook. For the people that I want to reach in the corporate environment still, I can do the same thing, but those messages are a little bit different. They are in terms of nurturing your teams and nurturing yourself to avoid burnout. So I am utilizing all of the social media outlets that I can, but I don't overwhelm myself. Three are what I manage right now. I can't go any further. I think you overwhelm yourself if you do. And then good old fashioned mailings. I have done some mailings lately, and
Yeah.
surprisingly, it works. People like to go to the mailbox. They like to open up the mailbox and they like to look at something in their hand. Maybe they put it on their cork board or put it on the fridge, but you've gotten it in their hand. So it's just another avenue to pursue.
I love this because, well, first off, direct mail is not dead. In fact, a lot of
No.
people think it is. So you're really differentiating yourself. So anybody out there who thinks it's all about digital, what Courtney has said is super important because you are using a marketing strategy that incorporates both a traditional approach and that digital approach. And I think people go really heavy on the digital and they
Yeah.
don't do the networking. They're not at a conference or being sponsored or direct mail. Those are traditional avenues. I love how you're doing both. I think that's just really important that you're open to that. And do you have any marketing experience that kind of led you to be able to kind of balance this and know that that's important?
Well, I've always really enjoyed writing, and I kind of gravitated to a combination of writing and copywriting because my background is primarily business development proposals, response to
Oh,
RFIs and RFPs. So throughout all of my professional experiences, I've had to learn how to sell it. And, for a long time, it was, clinical research or, medical education that I was selling. But it was easy to adapt that to health and wellness, particularly when you know your audience and what they respond to. And because I do have that writing background and a love of writing, that's one of the things that I love the most. I like putting something down on paper or out on web that people they share. I have my blog that I put out every Sunday. It's called the Better for You, Better for All blog. You can find that on my website, and I write that every Sunday because I love writing. And some people say, "Oh my gosh, I can only get one blog done, a month," but it kind of pours out of me, and I really enjoy that. But I think a lot of that just came from being kind of in the mode of making sure that whatever I put out had proper messaging in it and
yes.
resonated with the right audience. So I had a
Yep.
little bit of a cheat on that one.
Absolutely. It's the first thing I say is narrow in your target audience and make sure when you show up, it resonates and it's relevant for them. So this is so awesome to hear. So, as you're going, looking for various clients, can you tell us who your ideal client is?
My ideal client has changed from when I first started coaching. Uh,
Okay.
because where I was when I first became a coach was an overwhelmed parent working a full-time job who had fully neglected their health. So what I needed to do was get back to who I was as a person. And then I looked around and I saw so many other people in my same situation. But the common thread is busy people, whether they are men or women, and they are working. These are people that get up every day and go to work, and no matter what else is going on, they show up at work. There may be family stresses, there may be work stresses, but they get up and they do it every day. So my ideal client is someone who is, I don't want to call them a grinder, but someone who has a really strong sense of, I have to show up every day and get it done. But in the process, I'm not being true to myself and I'm not taking care of myself. So I work with busy individuals, usually people who are in busy working positions who want to reclaim balance and health in their life, but they may be moving too quickly to do it. And then you throw kids in the mix and spouses in the mix. You need to give people support and a framework for how they manage all that, but still maintain their health as well. So I can't say that it's, busy women. I can't say it's busy men. I'd have to say the age range is probably somewhere between 30 and maybe 55 or so. So it's more of an age range and a stage in life than it is an actual, issue or illness.
Right. So I'm going to challenge you here. And
Sure.
it may not be a challenge at all, but I'm sure there are people doing what you're doing. Let's face it, we all have, competitors.
You
So
do. Yeah.
what makes Courtney different that would make me want to choose you? Tell people out there how you have come up with, really elevating and leveraging your specialness.
I think it's because I address the whole person. There are a lot of people who have been trained as coaches, as holistic coaches or integrative coaches, but then you have some coaches that tend to veer off and they're more nutritional. They're really going to get into the weeds with you about what you eat and when you eat it and macros and micronutrients. And then you're going to have the coaches that they really love the physical aspect of it. In some cases, they're personal trainers. Um, and then you have some who are just, let's just work on you spiritually. I am a good combination of all of these things because I found as a person, that's what was missing for me. I needed movement, but I needed movement that worked for me. So it needed to be individualized. I needed nutrition information, but I needed it to work for me and my lifestyle and my own nutritional needs. I needed purpose and I needed a mission. I needed something that was going to ignite that fire in me. But I needed it to be personalized to me. And I also needed to grow as a person. But once again, I needed it to be personalized to me. My services are not a one size fits all. I'm going to talk to you and I'm going to find out what your specific challenges are because maybe they're not movement. Maybe they're not nutritional. Maybe you're dealing with some kind of internal crisis. You're stuck in a position and you just cannot find your way out of it. I'm going to work with you on that. And I'm not going to push a cookie cutter solution on you. So that's what the difference is. I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to make sure that you're getting what you need. And people will find normally when they are trying to address one thing in their life, there are other things in their life out of balance too. But by putting real focus on the one thing that is a block for them, they realize change in those other areas as well. Here's an example. I have a client who came to me because she wanted to lose some weight. So we worked on her diet. We worked on what she was eating and when she was eating, but we started having walking sessions. And one of the things she wasn't doing was she wasn't working out. And so we would have these walking sessions and she was getting that movement without knowing she was getting that movement. And it helped because it was supported by the nutritional interventions. And then she found a way of moving that worked for her and it didn't intimidate her. And then the results that she got were twofold. So she was looking to address one area and she actually addressed two. But what I try to do is give people a customized solution, which some other health coaches can find to be a little overwhelming. But I think that's what makes the difference. That's why you go to a coach.
I love it because I like the fact that you're a nice balance of experiencing what you're talking about and what you're trying to help other people about. It isn't all I took a million courses here. It's not in theory. It's actually really what happened to you and what and I think that's really important because you can relate to what these people are going through. And so I think that's really important in coaching is you've got to work with people and walk the journey,
Yes.
Before you. Okay.
Yeah.
Because nothing, and I don't think anything takes the place of actually doing it. Reading it is great and studying it is great, but actually experiencing it, it's a big difference.
And I've read the book. I've read a lot of self-help books. I can always recommend a particular doctor or author for a specific situation. I'm kind of the guinea pig when someone says, well, what do you think about, ginkgo biloba? I'm like, well, let me tell you about my experience with it. You might want to try it or you may not. I always try to have experience with things before I recommend anything to a client. And then if I don't know about it, if I'm asked about it, I will tell you, wow, I don't have any experience with that. Let me research that and get back to you. And then we will work together to find out if this is something that's going to work for you. And yes, I've been through it. I've been through the Atkins diet and Weight Watchers and keto and you name it. And, in some short term, they work, but it's long term sustainable lifestyle changes that are going to get you where you need to be.
Absolutely love it. So I want to know what your greatest success has been with your business, and what was the process to get there?
Oh, I think there's been so many little successes along the way. Number one, that I'm doing this because as someone who has walked the journey of something someone would come to me for, I dealt with a lot of fear. I dealt with a lot of insecurity, and I felt like I needed to stay in my lane and make sure that I was doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing. So, don't take any risks, don't make any waves. And the fact that I quit a job. I left a corporate family that was so supportive of me and I went out on my own and I do this every day is the success. The fact that I get up every day and I do this and I do it with enthusiasm and interest and wonder still. Um, Doing the website, I did my own website. So apologies to anyone who's been there, but now I have support, so it's looking much better. I do all my own marketing. There have been so many little successes along the way, and you really have those moments of, oh my goodness, I did this. And there are things that I've done now that I never would have maybe 4 years ago thought that I would even be attempting, and I have actually done them.
Yeah.
So there are little successes every day.
And I think the word here is little. I think people want this big, humongous success to say, "Oh,
Yeah.
I've really done something great here." But I think we need to celebrate. Just what you're saying is, I never did a website before. I never thought I'd be building this, but look, I
Yeah,
just built my own website. Come on,
exactly.
that's the big one. That isn't even a little one, but I just think celebrating it every day just it keeps the adrenaline going. It keeps the motivation
Yeah.
going,
And it
and
builds the confidence. It builds the confidence to go out and do something else. I've spoken in front of people before, but I never thought I would actually be wanting to do, speaking engagements and the writing. I never knew that I would be writing a blog every Sunday, and now I get up and I am just so joyful and excited to do it. And there are no quick fixes in life, and the same with health coaching. You can't get up and start eating vegetables a day after eating all burgers and fries and think you're going to lose 10 pounds. It's the same thing with entrepreneurship. You can't do a website and then sit there and wait for the customers to roll in, because it's just not going to happen. It's little wins along the way that are going to gain you traction.
so, what would be your greatest words of wisdom for somebody who is just starting? They are just, saying, I'm gonna walk this journey. I'm gonna be my own boss now. What would you tell them?
Yeah, I would tell them to take a moment. I would tell them to take a moment and really research and plan as much as you can. Look at others that are doing what you aspire to do. You don't need to emulate them, but what you need to do is maybe take a look at it and see if it really is for you. Something may look fantastic, but it's really not a great fit for you. If you do find something that just lights you up inside and you want to do it, do all the research that you can. Find out what's needed before you make huge leaps and commitments, because there are roads you can go down from which it's very hard to return. So make a good plan. I did a business plan, had no idea how to even make one. I've since tweaked it, but I've completed my business plan. And once you lay it out on paper and you realize what needs to be done to
Mhm.
achieve your goals, you have that moment of clarity, and then you have to start putting the structure behind what makes all of this happen. So I would say research and planning is essential for anyone who is looking to go into entrepreneurship, because you can't just wake up one day and say, I'm my own boss, because there's so much to goes into it.
I know. And a lot of people just want to wing it.
Yeah,
I'll put my logo up there and they will come. And
yeah,
it's not that easy.
it
Uh,
doesn't work.
no, it's like do your due diligence, make sure somebody actually needs, what you're doing, what you have, what you created.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea.
Yeah,
Um,
and also make sure that you have a voice, because once you've done the research and you've found other people that are doing what you want to do, make sure you have a voice. Your voice is different. It's going to speak to someone, because if you get out there and you say the same thing that another coach or, another IT person has said, people say, I've heard this before. Make sure that there is something unique about the offering that you have for the people that you want to help.
Yeah. So what's next on the horizon for your company? I love the fact that you pivoted. You started one way and then it evolved. So where do you see things going in 2024? Because I feel like we're almost done with 2023. I hate to say that, but what do you want to see with the company in 2024?
That is true. What I want to see with the company in 2024 is growth.
Mhm.
I also want increased visibility, primarily just for health. A lot of people go into coaching and they want to coach a million people. What I want to do is help get information out about health and wellness to a lot of people so that they can continue to pass it on to other people. You don't all need to be my clients, but I think we've all learned the lessons of COVID, where either we got really sick or we lost someone. There were pre-existing conditions. There were people that were out of shape. I think we've learned a very important lesson there, that we should not take our health and wellness for granted. And I think after COVID, people got a little, burnout with the health and wellness message, but it's still just as important as it was when we all went through that pandemic together. So I would like to have the message of health and wellness spread. And in keeping with helping busy people, I would really like to work with companies in 2024 to come in and do presentations or do workshops for small groups. Think of it as brainstorming sessions for your team, or team building, but with a focus on their health and wellness, because the life's blood of any company is its people. And if
Yeah.
your people are burnt out or disengaged or not feeling well, or calling in because they're not feeling well, your business is impacted. So I would really like to work with companies to give that extra level of attention to their people, so that they know that they are heard and seen and appreciated, and that the company, the manager, the organization cares about their health and wellness. So that's huge for me next year, because I worked for a company that did a very good job of saying, we appreciate who you are and what you do and what you bring to the company. And they also gave us incentives and days off and a wonderful health and wellness platform to
Yes.
access. But for companies that don't have that luxury, I would like to be able to, bridge that gap for them and their employees. So that's 2024 for me. I want to make sure that, people who are out there working hard can continue to work, but maybe not so hard, and do it in a very healthy way.
Well, tell everybody, Courtney, how they can get a hold of you, both corporations or individuals. How do they reach you?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I am out on social media, so I am very active on LinkedIn. You can look me up on LinkedIn, just Courtney Capece. I also have a private Facebook group, as well as a presence on Instagram. But of course, there's always the website, and the website has my story. It has information about the different coaching initiatives and services that are available, as well as the blog. So that would be committedchangehealth.com. You can also reach me by email, and that would just be Courtney@committedchangehealth.com. I am ready and waiting to speak with people. There are descriptions of all of the services that I offer, from one-to-one coaching to group coaching, speaking, and small business workshops. So please feel free to visit the site and reach out to me if you have questions or would like to set anything up. Um, the first call is complimentary. I would just love to hear what your needs are. I want to know what it is that you need and how I can help you.
Awesome. Well, I expect to have you back in 2024 so you can give everybody an update at how you actually achieved these goals. So I hope you'll be back with us.
I hope I will be back with great news.
I think you will. So
Thank
thank you
you.
so much, Courtney, for being here. And thank you for those who have tuned in, and will be tuning out and maybe watching the replay. I hope to have you back here next Thursday, where I will have another rock star who's ready to share their best practices, words of wisdom, definitely how you overcome the challenges and keep going in entrepreneurship. And if you need me, I'm at 8simplesteps.net. Just reach out, especially if you're doing a lot of marketing right now and you're not getting traction. I say to people, you don't have a marketing problem. You actually have a messaging problem. So I'm all about converting customers simply. So hope to see everybody next week. And thank you again, Courtney.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a wonderful evening.
You too. Good night, everybody.
Thanks.